Hi everyone, it's Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher. I am a little bit late for my October Flosstube. So it's been about 6 weeks since my last Flosstube and just been pretty busy. In the month of September, I had 2 weddings and both of them required my husband and I to travel out of the state. And I had a week where I was on site for work and just a lot of family events and activities. So not a ton of time for stitching, certainly not a lot of time for filming, and the past couple of weeks I've just been enjoying kind of getting back in the swing of things and getting some stitching done. And now, let's say today's Sunday, October 15th, and I am off for the week. So we took the week off for like a staycation, and I plan to pretty much just stitch and craft and clean my house, walk my dog, read books. That's pretty much it. So with that being said, I don't usually do too much of a life update, but I would love to just get into my projects. I did have 2 finishes this month, 6 weeks, however you want to call it. And one of them, they're both exciting, but one of them is particularly exciting. Okay, so my first finish is a mini finish for now. And you may recall if you've watched any of my previous videos that this past spring, I started working on the Salt Shaker series by Plum Street Samplers. Started a stitch along called #SaltboxSolsticeSale with Caitlin from Cross Stitch Kate and Jessica from Sweetwater Stitcher. I did both spring charts. I think I came in just under the wire, finishing my second one before the end of spring, and then haven't touched them since. I did not do the summer ones, and I wanted to get back to them this month. So I pulled out the autumn salt boxes, and I did the one on the left, number 1. So here is where I'm at. Board for you. This sort of works. With the 2 at the top of the spring ones, I did do a little bit of the white border in the middle just to bring myself down to autumn, and I'll get back to summer at some point. But this is the first autumn salt box. This is stitched on 40 count barley bicolor and cotton with mostly the called for threads. So this thread here, the blue on the house, is called for Weeks Dye Works Seagull. I used Weeks Dye Works Dolphin. And what else did I change? Some of the stars are done in Weeks Dye Works Roasted Fig, and I used Gentle Arts Cinnamon. And that was just because that was what I had in my stash. I didn't feel like ordering those final couple threads when I started this, and I did do a match, like a DMC color match, or sort of what was the suggested DMC for each one. And then I held up some overdyed next to each of the corresponding DMC colors to get something that I thought was good enough. So that is Salt Shaker number 1. And I'm actually thinking I might do number 2 in the next couple weeks. Number 2 is the one that I like more, actually. I really enjoyed stitching the first one. But number 2 has the moon and the sunflowers and like the red and orange house. It's just a little bit more fun in terms of the motifs. So we'll see if I get back to that one. And my other finish, which is long time coming. I wasn't sure if and when you would see this finish as of my last video. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen this, but I finished. I'm literally using my cutting board, my cutting mat. Consider the Lilies. I barely fit in the screen with it, but it's done. Like I said, I didn't have a ton of time to stitch in September, but I pretty much took this out a week or 2 after my last video and did not take it off the Q-snap until it was done. So since you last saw it, I worked on the bottom right corner, finished a lot. So if you look at the house, to the right of the house, there's that vase with the bird on top of the flowers. I did from there all the way over to the right, and all the rest of the border. And my border met on the first try, which I was very excited about. This is the biggest piece I've ever done. And if my border had not met up, I definitely would have fudged it. I would not have ripped out multiple sections of border to figure out where my mistake was, but yeah, consider the lilies is done. If you have this in your stash and you're considering stitching it, I could not recommend it more. I don't think I made any changes, so I used all of the called for threads. I stitched this on 40 count Lakeside linen vintage straw flower, and I loved this fabric for it. I actually still have kind of a big chunk of straw flower that I cut off of the right side of this piece. It's kind of long and thin, so I'll have to find something either vertically or horizontal but thin that I can do on that, because I cannot waste a piece of Lakeside, so it will just reside in my drawer until I find something appropriate for it. Also, please excuse my nails. I have not done them in weeks. So one more time, because biggest thing I've ever done, and I'm extremely proud of it. Heartstring samplery, Consider Lilies is done. Done, done, done. Okay, I'm gonna put that down. And let's switch over to works in progress, and then I have a couple new starts as well. In terms of works in progress, I worked on 3 more things. So the first thing I did was a tiny little bit on Stacy Nash Deck the Coop Pin Keep. And this is one that is technically a Christmas piece, Deck the Coop. I don't know that I'll finish it in time for Christmas. We'll see. But I have my eye on, she released one maybe over the summer that's like pumpkins and eggs market or farm or something like that I really like. And a couple people, Stitching Bunny showed it in her most recent video. So I kind of want to get that one. But this is what I have on Deck the Coop. I'm stitching this on 40 count Seraphim Winter Woolens, and I'm using all of the called for over dyed threads. What I did this time was pretty minimal. I added this little section. There's like a flower and then some blue fill-in or bluish gray. The date here, I think I might have done, maybe I added something to the bottom border. Worked on this for less than a day, probably a morning, but I'm kind of feeling like I might want to get it back out. As we're getting closer to November, I'm starting to feel like I might want to do some Christmas stitching. I've said it before, I'm not a huge Christmas stitcher usually, but this year I may try to do a little bit. So that is Deck the Coop by Stacy Nash. The next whip I worked on is my BAP. So I'm posting a stitch along called the #Back to School sale, and I chose this enormous piece by Moira Blackburn. I've never stitched one of her charts before. I'd kind of had my eye on it for a while. On Instagram, X Stitch and Crochet is stitching it. She stitches beautiful things in general, but her version of this, when I saw the colors, that's what really made me want to do it. And then Emily C did a stitching house tour a few months ago, and she did this as well. She did a color conversion, and hers is a lot more moody and dark, but still absolutely beautiful stitch. So that's why I wanted to do this. I am stitching this on 46 count Albarium by Cedar River Linen with the Vicky Clayton HDF silk conversion. So this is as far as I've gotten. Since the last video, I'm trying to remember what I had done in the last video. I don't know that I finished this section of the alphabet or the band underneath it. Yeah, I don't think I was done with that top part. So I finished kind of the top left section and the band, and then I brought the border down the side, and then I brought down this other little band of acorns and leaves and started the first tree. So to orient you in the chart, I'm doing this section here, and I'll be about halfway down the left side of the border. Okay, that is 3 things. My final whip is At Home by With That Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. Wow, my nails are really bad, but sorry. Here it is. This is stitched on 40 count Sandcastle by Color and Cotton. That's kind of sheer. Let me put it on my board. No, I still have not made myself a display board. Maybe this week during my staycation. Although I keep saying that about everything and I'm gonna end up doing none of it. I'm just gonna stitch. So here is At Home with That Needle and Thread, 40 count Sandcastle, Color and Cotton. All of the called for over dyed. Get that thread out of the way. What I've done since last time is I brought the border down. I think I was maybe here on the border, so I brought the border down the page, and I had a few trees at the top, so I did this tree, this little tree, and then this pretty heavy section of trees, fence, and the bottom of the ground. So you'll see that I've pretty much brought myself up to the house, and I think next I'll probably come along the bottom, although I do really want to get to that house, so we'll see. That is At Home. I feel like I'm going really quick today. Oh well. Okay, next up we have, oh, those are all my whips. Great. Next up we have my new starts. The first one I'm gonna put a picture of here. This is a Liz Matthews, Hello from Liz Matthews Patreon chart called Flowers and Friends. This was her September into October chart. She posted this and I immediately kitted it, and I decided I wanted to start it on a more fall moody fabric. So I'm using After the Harvest by Be Stitch Me, which has been used for one of my fall starts of Moonlight Sampler. This is not Flowers and Friends. And here's what I've gotten done. So I think I worked on this for 2 days. That sounds about right. It's super pretty. I love the dark blue house. Actually, that bottom border, even though it's intricate, I think there's 4 or 5 colors in it. You can carry the threads on a darker fabric, just side note. So that didn't take too long of a time. However, each of the flowers in the top and border sort of section there's a lot of color changes, I'll say that. So you definitely need to feel like you have some time and some patience to do these sections. Like one flower here has, I think, 4 colors, and there's usually 2 to 4 to 6 stitches of each color, so you are doing a lot of changing over. I will get back to this. I really like it and I want the final result, but this might be one where I do a thread here and there to kind of get some of the primary vine done in the border, and then that way I can go back and like fill a needle with one color and then just go around, and I forget who it is, like some people will try to get all of a color done in a chart, and I feel like that's something I might try with this one, where maybe I create the green vine around the top of the house and then I go color by color and just add to each layer. We'll see. But Liz is really producing some beautiful Patreon pieces. She just released the October to November pieces this morning. There's 2. One of them is like a Quaker tree for fall, and then there's a little ornament / mini that says Boo with Quaker O's, which is super cute. So I might have to start those this fall as well. My last start is Quaker Garden by Blackbird Designs. No, I don't think this has been re-released or will be re-released. I got a couple questions about that in a recent video, but maybe next year. I know Alma just released a lot of previously out of print charts, so maybe this one will be next. But I got to start on Quaker Garden. I am stitching this on 40 40 count Tuscan by Color and Cotton. Yeah. And here, where I'm using all of the called for overdyes. I have lost the ability to speak. This is my start. This is my start. So I got to definitely the halfway point where that moth is. There's a pretty big garland or Quaker motif at the top and then a garland to the right that really would bring me fully to 50%. But I think next time I get this out, if I do it even for a couple days, I'll probably get another third done. And I love stitching this. I really like this fabric. Again, it's Color and Cotton from the Fabric of the Month Club, so I don't know if it's going to be available, but it's beautiful to stitch on. It's this sort of mottled green base with a little bit of like tan in it. Beautiful. And I just love the color palette here. The colors are, there's only 5, I want to say, maybe 6, and they're just so pretty. So for those of you who have this shirt and haven't stitched it, I recommend it. And for those who would like to stitch it, I really suggest looking at eBay or crossing your fingers and toes that Elma decides to release it eventually. I was thinking what I might want to do with the finish. And while I really like this smaller frame, I think the original is stitched on maybe 32, and on 40 that frame would be pretty small. So I'm thinking I might do a drum finish. And when I say do a drum finish, I mean find a finisher to do a drum finish for me, because while I could attempt one myself, and I may with another project, with something that feels more special, like a chart that I've been wanting to stitch for a long time, I think I'd rather have a professional do it for me. Okay, so those are all my starts, and I'm gonna take a quick break, which you won't notice, so I didn't need to say that. And the next thing I have is my fall finishes. So a lot of people in recent videos have been doing kind of a finish parade of what they have for fall. I have about 12 things. So if you are interested in seeing everything that I've finished for autumn in the past, that's next. If you are not interested in that, maybe I'll put timestamps in this video and you can shoot forward a little bit to purchases and plans and everything else. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, fall finishes. So first things first, I actually have a new fully finished object, which normally I would have showed you at the beginning of the video, but since I knew I was doing this, I decided to just wait. And that is Welcome Halloween by the Drawn Thread. So I finished this one earlier this summer, June, and I bought the kit from the Drawn Thread. So this was stitched on the kit fabric, which is 30 count lamb's wool, with all the silks and the buttons for the spiders. And here's my finish. This is a little board from Michael's. I want to say it was, $5. It has this little hanger on it. And what I did was I mounted my stitching on a piece of foam core board with 1 layer of batting, and then you're going to see my lacing. I laced the back and I added magnets, and then I added washers to the board so I can switch them out, because I also have Welcome Autumn. So I had this one up in September, and after Halloween I'll take down Welcome Halloween, and then I will put Welcome Autumn back up through November. I also have Welcome Christmas. So there's each of the 4 seasons, and then Halloween and Christmas. And I own the Christmas one. I haven't stitched it yet, but I think I might this year, because I'd like to have something on this board come December. Same idea, 1 layer of batting, foam core board, lacing. Okay, next we have my, sorry I keep touching my hair today. I'm gonna stop. Next I have my dough ball. So this is my not super styled autumn doughboy. And the first one I'll show you is Bittersweet September by Blackbird Designs. Should probably restuff this one. I did this kind of early in my stitching, maybe 2021. And this was stitched on 36 count Winter's Brew by R&R Reproductions with all of the called for threads. Super cute. I really like this one. There is a similar looking one in the Winds of Autumn book, which is where this is from. It's like a pumpkin patch or something like that. That's kind of in the back of my mind that I want to add to my bowl. That's the first one. Next up, Spell of the Moon. I incorrectly referred to this one as Waiting for the Harvest a couple videos ago. No, Spell of the Moon. This is also stitched on 36 count Winter's Brew by R&R Reproductions and all the called for threads. I love that orange. It's not really picking up on camera. It has some really pretty yellow, gold, orange variegation. Just have a little fabric on the back. Same thing with Bittersweet September. Simple pillow finishes. Both of them have lizard litter in them, not polyfill. I started kind of doing polyfill, then the lizard litter. Now I do a combination where I say this as if I'm always finishing pillows, and I have a winter finish sitting on my sewing machine that I haven't done in 6 months, but now I put the polyfill in the corners of the pillows and then the rest has lizard litter. Next one, kind of a bigger pillow. This is Turkey Bay by Plum Street Samplers. Again, this is from the early days of my stuffing where there's a lot of extra room. Could probably refill this at some point. Probably not this year because it's already on display. This was stitched on 32 count Bramble by Picture This Plus with all the called for threads. This was really fun to stitch. And again, basic backing. Okay. Then we have Fall Frolic. This was stitched, this is Scarlet House. Again, stitched, maybe this one might have been last year. And Fall Frolic I did on 40 count Rain Washed by Color and Cotton, which is a fabric of the month. And I used, I think, pretty much all of the called for threads. I'm typically someone who uses all the called for unless I don't have something and want to start it immediately, which is not atypical for me. Here's the fabric I chose for the back. This one, my stitching is pretty invisible at the bottom, but it is lifting up a little bit. So I feel like now that I can see all of these in one place and how I'm displaying them, I might order some Lady Dot chenille or rickrack for some of them, just to make it a little more interesting. Then I have, what am I missing? Oh, Fall into Autumn. This is by Jeanette Douglas. Lots of specialty stitches in this one. Each different row at the bottom is specialty stitches. And I stitched this on 40 count Antique Lace by Seraphim. This has the same backing as Fall Frolic. No, slightly different backing than Fall Frolic. And I used, again, pretty much all the called for. I want to say that pumpkin, the orangey pumpkin in the middle, might be a Roxy Flosstube because I don't think I had the correct pumpkin color. Not totally sure. And yeah, these are really fun. These are another seasonal one where she has all four. Don't know that I'll do all four, but I do really like these. Okay. And the last one is Waiting for the Harvest. This is from Blackbird Designs, Winds of Autumn book. This I did on 40 count Mallow by Zweigart, which is kind of like a linen cotton blend, I believe. It's interesting to stitch on. I don't dislike it, but it's not my favorite. I don't know that I'll buy it again. And I did this with Roxy Floss Co. Cousin It, which is a bluey black thread. On screen, it's really picking up black, but there is a blue sheen to it in person. So Again, if you have any tips on making my trench bowl cuter, I would love to hear them, but ooh, these are my fall smalls. And there's one more that is a fall small that hasn't been finished yet, and you'll see that in a moment. Okay, now my bigger fall pieces, neither of them is huge, but they're not smalls. So we have Feast of Friendship, and this is by Blackbird Designs. Lots of people are stitching it right now. I think it was, I'm unclear whether it went out of print completely and then came back, but either way, a lot of people are stitching it right now. Here's mine. I stitched this on 40 count Vintage Straw Flower by Lakeside Linen, and I used all the called for. I started this in the days when Gentle Arts Pumpkin Pie was really hard to find, and I was actually in Hawaii, bear with me, on a family vacation, and there is a very small stitching shop outside Honolulu, and I went and they had Gentle Arts Pumpkin Pie, so I think I bought like 3 skeins of it or something. My frame is from, oh shoot, Signed and Numbered. Signed and, if I'm wrong, I'll put it on the bottom of the screen, but I had it custom made. I chose this mulberry color to pull out the window frame or the window casings. I love it. Love it, love it. And my other bigger fall finish that has been framed is Cinnamon Stars. This is by Plum Street Samplers. And this was stitched on maybe that Winter Brew. No, 36 count Liberty Gathering Gray by R&R. I don't even remember having that. All the called for threads. Super fun stitch. I really like stitching fences. I feel like I saw someone in a recent video saying that they hate stitching fences, and it's so funny how people have different preferences because I think fences are really fun. I also really liked the sunflowers, and just all those stars are so sweet. Again, this frame is from Signed and Numbered. I feel like it's on the back of one of these. Signed and Numbered. Okay, we're right. We're right. So that is the end of my fully finished fall finishes. I have 2 other fall finishes that need full finishing, and one of them is Seasons of the Heart Autumn. This is the blue flower, Seasons of the Heart Autumn, and I have done spring of this series and fully finished it, and I want to finish this one in the same way. What I did for spring was I had fabric, one type of fabric around the front edges, like banded, and then a different fabric on the back. So what I'm going to do is these 2 fabrics. So around on the front, around the edges of the piece, I'm going to do this mushroom fabric. I'll probably fussy cut it so I get lots of mushrooms. And then on the back, I'm going to do this fabric, which is on the back of maybe Fall Frolic, one of my other smalls. I think that will look really cute together. And my last fall finish, which I could probably put on a board here, is Midnight Watch by Blackbird Designs. You've seen this relatively recently, but here it is again. I stitched this on 40 count Winter Woolens by Seraphim, and I used all the called for threads, and I had some personalization at the bottom there. I don't think I made any changes, or if I did, they were accidental changes, customizations to this one. And I do plan on ordering a frame for this. Probably should have gotten on that like a month ago, but I'm likely going to order a black frame from Signed and Numbered. And if I order that now, and I could put it in a frame, I might just, this is something I think I would keep up all the way to the end of November. So if I can manage to get it into a frame before then, I'll keep it up past Halloween. All right. So those are my fall finishes. Let me shift some things around. We just have, what do we have left? Purchases, a plan, and knitting and another craft if you stay around for that. So what did I buy? Not a ton. Or I guess I did buy some yarn, and you'll see that if you watch the knitting section, but I bought this bag from Starry Owl Stitchery, and I'm obsessed. I love it so much. It's the, I want to say it's the, oh shoot, I forget what this line is called. Halloween or something like that. The interior has the little bats and pumpkins. So cute. Here's the back. She did this drop maybe a month ago, and I was like ready and waiting at the time that they went live. Very excited that I got one. There's a little owl charm on it as well. She does a fantastic job, so I think I'll be likely purchasing more of her bags in the future. Then I got a few charts from 123 Stitch. This will lead me into my plans. The first one I got is a Peace on Earth sampler by Cottage Garden Samplings. This is fully, oh my god, the nails. This is fully Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch's vault. She's stitching this. I think it's come up in her Whipco. Liz, I don't know. When did you stitch this? And I just really like it. Like I've said 1,000 times now, I'm not a huge Christmas stitcher, but this really appeals to me, and I feel like I would potentially leave it up all winter. The next one I got is the Vault of Shiloh X Stitch MD. This is With Needle and Thread by Samplers Not Forgotten. And I just thought this was so sweet, the little bird. But you can't see this. Sorry about the crinkling, but good pause. It has a little blue bird, the initials. I love that floral border and the little house stitched on the blue fabric. I have an idea for fabric, and this might be one I start kind of over the winter, like post holidays. And then the last one brings me into my plans, which is I broke down and purchased Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, and I'm going to start it for my birthday. So I'm turning 35 at the end of October, and I was contemplating not 35 starts. I was contemplating, you know, 3 restarts and 5 starts. I was contemplating like doing 35 starts or whatever, some kind of challenge over the next year. And ultimately what I decided is I just want to do one really big start and kind of go all out for it, which I guess is what I did for back to school also, but my stitchy friend Erin is going to do this with me. She's Erin Makes on Instagram. If you're not following her, you should. She stitches really good stuff. She's working on Moonlight Sampler right now, which, as you may know, I have started 1,000 times, and I need to restart because now I've seen her progress and I want to do it again. All right, what am I doing with this? I ordered a piece of Stitcher's half of 40 count Tephra from Cedar River Linen, Jody, Trixie Tricycle. That's on its way to me. Currently trying to decide if I want to do DMC or silks. And Olivia at Hillside Rookery, Olivia B, is doing a 20% off NPI silk, certain packs maybe, in October, including pre-orders for this. I'm seriously contemplating it, but also there is a Vicky Clayton silk conversion, and Vicky Clayton silks are a little bit more economical than NPIs. So really I would just be saving money. I think that's how it works if I got the silks. We'll go with that. Mental gymnastics. What else was I going to say about this? Oh, a lot of people alter this and don't do the Halloween blocks, or don't do the Thanksgiving blocks, or pick some combination of the 12 blocks and do, you know, 6 plus. I do plan to do all of them for now. We will see how I feel. This is definitely a multi-year project for me. I've seen Olivia, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, she did do this, and she's now doing, I want to say Houses of Hawk Run Hollow, and has kind of a half a block per month challenge for herself. And I feel like that might be kind of my jam, is a block every other month or half a block a month, because this will take a long time and I'm fine with that, but I would like to have it on my wall sooner than later. And if I could figure out some way to get a frame that looks like this, I think I would leave this up all year. So those are my plans. I'm waiting on the fabric. I need to pick out my threads, and I did place another order with Evertote to get the thread for Dark Golden Delicious, which I'll toss up here, and the thread for Coffee and Eggs, toss up there. And then I may have, my finger slipped and I accidentally ordered a mini hank because I'm starting pandemic at the end of the year by Long Tongue Samplers. Kate, Cross Stitch Kate, agreed to start with me or restart. And so I'm holding her to that by the bounds of this video contract. And so I needed a mini hank. So I got a Roxy Floss mini hank. You'll probably see that in the next video. What else am I planning on doing? Starting my birthday start, and probably just seeing what I feel like doing. I'm in the mood to do some more fall smalls. If you haven't been watching Olivia B, not Olivia Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, Olivia B is doing Dark October vlogs, and in her most recent vlog, the second one for October, she showed her fall wall with kind of like this rack or picture rail where she puts some of her frames and then hangs some different stitching like pouches from it, or a quilted piece. And then like she has like a cubby section where she puts all of her fall smalls, and that is really making me want to do more smalls. I'm not usually a huge small stitcher, I say, after just showing you a basket full of 7 of them. So we'll see. I think I'm acting like I'm wrapping up the video. I'm not done, but I am going to switch to knitting and a wool applique project I'm working on. So if you're only here for the cross stitch, I am done talking about cross stitch. I'm not sure when I'll be back. It might be a few weeks. I might try to get back into my end of the month cycle, which would mean I film toward the beginning of November and then at the end of November. But you also might just not see me till the end of November. You'll see me when you see me. If that's all you're here for, thank you so much for watching today. If you're here to stay, I'm gonna move on to knitting and wool applique. Okay, I'll start with the wool applique. That's just one thing. And I showed this either in my previous video or the one before that, but I'm working on this, or I bought this wool applique project by Penny Lane Primitives. It's called Bittersweet Fall. A couple of people asked me where I got it. If you're interested, it's still on Etsy at the store One of the Flock. And I've never done wool applique before. So last weekend I sat down and I cut out all my pieces, I did the freezer paper templates and then I pressed them onto my wool. If I'm saying things wrong, please tell me. And then I cut out all my pieces, and I've only just started the stitching process. So see if you can see this. Here's what I have. It's all just laying together right now with the exception of that running border. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I will say the reason that I got stalled is because the next step calls for a circle of French knots. So that has not happened yet. Debating whether I want to just do tiny X's instead of French knots or make myself learn something new, which wouldn't be bad for me. Knitting wise, I have 2 things to talk about. The first thing is I am again working on my half and half Purl Soho half and half triangles wrap, and since my last video I did a chunk more. You can see my marker. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but I did have a pause where I was a little bit worried I wasn't gonna have enough yarn to finish, and I wanted to do the math before I continued going. So just to give you the background, I don't think I've said this in a while, I'm using Stress Knits yarn. It's her favorite base. This is called Copper Boom. That's the color I've been working with. And then I haven't caked either of these up yet, but these are, again, Stress Knits favorite base. The color is In My Hometown. Really pretty. I wasn't sure if I was gonna have enough yarn. So what did I do? I figured out that there were 190 rows. They're short rows, but there's 190 repeats in the smaller size of the wrap, which is what I'm doing. And so I found a formula, like a calculator online, to calculate the sum of all integers up to 190 to determine approximately how many stitches are in this piece of the wrap. And then from there, I divided that by 2 to figure out how many stitches done I would have to be half done. Like if I was running out of my first of 2 balls of yarn, how many stitches in should I be in order to have my second ball of yarn help me complete the rest of that side? And I did the math and ultimately think I'm gonna be okay. I have about 10 repeats left to do in my what should be done, like half the stitches should be done, and I think I'll be fine. So all that to say, got a little bit done on that. I feel like this is going to be like a year-long project, and the math made me feel better about continuing, because I would be very upset if I got all the way to the end of the first half and I ran out of yarn and it didn't look right. So that's that one. The other thing, I got a little stitchy kindness. So this beautiful quilted knitting bag is from Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. Liz and Shiloh and I all decided to do the West Knits Mystery Knit Along this year. It's my first one. And Liz made us these beautiful bags. Look at the interiors, these star print, so fun. So I preface this by saying, I don't know whether I'm going to continue participating in the Mystery Knit Along. I'm not going to get into it because I think other people have covered it. Actually, Liz covered it really well in her most recent video. There was a little bit of, there was just like sort of an issue at the beginning of the Mystery Knit Along with the first clue, and I had started working on the first clue, and then multiple versions were released, and ultimately the version that was working on is not really sanctioned. Sanctioned is the wrong word. It's sort of, Stephen West has asked that people who were knitting the first clue as it originally was not use it anymore. And that's totally fine. That's, you know, his decision as the creator, but it did make me really lose steam on the project. So this is where I had gotten to. It's hard to see because I was knitting sort of piecemeal. So I have some stitches hanging out on a different set of needles over here, but I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but I will show you the yarns that I'm working with because I love them. So these are all Sweet Georgia yarns. They're supposed to be in a gradient. I chose this white color. All of my color names are in the tag in here, and I don't want to pull them out because it'll destroy my yarn cake. But if you're curious, ask me and I'll go look at my receipt. So there's this white color. I have a lavender. I have pale green. That's a messy one. And then this beautiful dark green with hints of teal and purple. So the way they look all together is gorgeous. So I don't know that I'll rip out what I already did. I may cast on the new version of Clue 1. There's some people on Ravelry have done modifications, and I might choose to do one of those. And Clue 2 came out, and I do like Clue 2. So I think I'm just going to wait a week or two, kind of see what the finished shawl is going to look like and decide if I want to restart. And if I don't restart, then Stephen West has another shawl that comes out. It was a previous knit along, and it's coming out in November, that calls for 4 skeins of fingering weight yarn. So maybe I'll do that one. So, is that everything I have? Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is that for the first time while I was starting that knit along, I did use the ChowGoo red lace needles. I have only ever used clover bamboo needles. I am a convert. I'm afraid for myself that I'm going to want the ChowGoo interchangeable needles. That felt like, you know, kind of a foregone conclusion as soon as I started knitting with them. So maybe that'll be coming in the future. I think that's everything I have for today. What else is going on? Not a whole lot. I've been reading a little bit, stitching a little bit. I don't have anything else to say right now. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. I may or may not be back in a few weeks, but you will see me hopefully by the end of November. And I hope everyone has a wonderful fall, and I'll see you soon. Bye.